It's a beautiful day in Tampa Bay for thank God. It's Friday, February 1st, 2019, the only first day of Feb 2019 in the history of humanity. I've got an idea, Big O.
What's that?
Let us choose, continue to choose.
On purpose.
With a purpose.
To give.
A wonderful TGIF.
Sex in the pews. Sex in the pews. Sex in the pews.
Sex in the pews.
Greetings, you beautiful humans. This is Glenn Klein.
And Owen Pratt.
Welcome in the pews. Sex in the pews. Another excursion into organized fun with a purpose. Glad to have you along. Really excited about what's happening with Sex in the Pews. The community is growing. I think we had our first Sex in the Pews dating service hookup.
We've had to put more tweezers in the back to pull out all of the splinters.
That reminds me that we have for sale the Got Splinters Sex in the Pews t-shirts on the website, sexinthepews.com. And if you haven't seen it, you remember the old milk ad where it said "Got milk"? Well, this says "Got splinters."
Scandalous.
Sex in the pews. Also, we have the Dick Pick of the Week contest, and we are proud to announce that the winner of the Got Splinters t-shirt for the Dick Pick of the Week is the very lovely Celeste Reynolds.
Celeste.
See the dick pic she sent. Now, if you guys are hearing the show for the first time, let us assure you that the dick pic of the week isn't what you think. In fact, her dick pic was a guitar pick with the word dick on it. The concept is that, generally speaking, women don't want to receive dick pics. We speak in general terms, Big O.
We do.
Because it's generally true, and it generally applies to everybody. It, of course, does not apply to every single person on the planet. I'm sure. I have no doubt that there are.
It would be an amazing policy if men out there lived by generally if they didn't send their dick pics to women. And so maybe.
And it never worked. It never ends well, generally. I mean, just ask Brett Favre. Probably the one thing that he wishes he wouldn't have done was send a picture of his penis to this woman from the New York Jets. It really damaged his reputation for a while. You can come back from that stuff.
Brett Favre, if you're listening, feel free to send us your dick pic of the week entry.
But we speak in general terms, and we recommend not sending your dick pic. It's just unnecessary, unproductive.
Poor form.
Yeah. And so go and participate, play along. It's fun. It's organized fun with a purpose. Yeah. So we're going to be talking on this edition of Sex in the Pews with the amazing Kelly Elizabeth Goss. She is a pole dancer. She's a pole fitness dancer. She's a competitor and an amazing, beautiful human. And we go way back. So we'll be talking to, as I like to call her, Keg, Kelly Elizabeth Goss, later on Sex in the Pews. But being a pole dancer, now she does it for fitness, and you've seen
Looks
pictures.
like I need to start doing it for fitness.
I wonder how many men actually do the pole dancing fitness. That's a question we'll ask.
That's a question we'll ask.
But pretty much it is a sex-oriented endeavor. It's very sexy.
How did she describe it? Classique?
Classique is apparently a
softer word
for sexy dancing. She wears the, come fuck me heels, those big, stripper heels. And I mean, just the fact that she could do what she does, period, let alone walking in those things and up on the pole with those things. When we opened up the tanning saloon, the Sunbar Tanning Saloon, I would make the case to my salespeople, this is an extension of the sex industry. People want to look tan, not just they want to look tan because they look sexier. They look better naked. They want to be more attracted to whomever they are attracted to, whether it be the opposite sex or the same sex. A lot of gay and lesbian clients there. And I would make the case, and that there was nothing wrong with it. My mentor in this whole issue of relationship and sex was a woman named Madam Sherry Ford, and who has passed away, unfortunately. But she used to say every woman should be in the sex industry for 90 days. And she said women would find out all they needed to know about men in 3 months if they exposed themselves that way. She was a hooker, and then she became a madam in Vegas. So she funneled thousands of guys to their different escorts or dates. Wow. And she was so smart. And she reached out to me when I was doing the daily talk show here in Clearwater.
Is that how you met her?
Yes.
Oh.
And so we started talking, and she was an amazing radio guest, great vocabulary, great voice, very funny. And she would say that not only that women would learn all they need to know about men, but her famous line was, "Where are the men, the real men?" And she's the one that taught me, with other basically women, what being an alpha male is all about. There are very few natural alpha males out there. They think they are. The president has been called an alpha male. He's not. He is a narcissistic, selfish, insecure pussy. Bill Maher calls him the man baby. He calls him the whiny little bitch.
Yikes.
Yeah. It's amazing how many people are tricked into thinking that he's an alpha male. But you can get a long way by faking it. And it's one of the reasons that women are attracted to the bad boys, because the number one thing women are looking for in men is confidence. So bad boys or narcissistic, selfish, whiny little bitches will put on a facade. But when push comes to shove in a relationship and the pressure comes bare, like it's called life, a lot of these times these bad boys are really assholes. And they are the ones that sometimes can become abusive and stalkers and just awful. In our society, we basically interchange the words or the term, that guy's a dick, that guy's an asshole. It basically means the same thing. Well, dicks and assholes aren't the same thing, ladies and gentlemen. They're on the opposite sides, if you haven't noticed. An asshole, when it's working properly, stinks. Unless it's well taken care of, which is doable. My boy Julian went to Japan last year, and the thing that he was blown away was every single place you go in Japan, they have a bidet. And he said it was the most amazing thing ever. You would never get monkey butt. He was very happy with it. So that can be taken care of for the asshole. But having said that, it for sure when it's working, it releases shit. When a dick is working, it's hard, it's firm, it's erect, it's potent, it's penetrating, it's well positioned, it's respectful of where it's going, it's respectful of it, and it's respectful of where it's going. That's a new one.
That is a new one. I like it.
If a woman's straight, she doesn't want a pussy because she's already got a pussy. You don't need another pussy. Women, is like Madam Sherry said, where are the men who understand that being firm is not being an asshole? Being hard is not being an asshole. And assholes generally, I mean, in that area is usually pretty soft, actually, and mushy. Except for yours and Kelly's asses. That's about, as good as it gets.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Firmness-wise. Hard. I'm talking about soft tushies here.
Saying you have a hard tushy?
Well, you're certainly fit.
Okay.
You work hard at it.
Firm.
Potent. Penetrating. When a man is a dick, he's not just a dick to his woman. Now remember, this is a very positive thing, being a dick. But he's a dick in life. He's looking to give life and pleasure to his friends, his neighbors, his community, his society, to his children? That's a challenging one. As a father of 6, I can tell you, without a doubt. But I've been as big a dick to my kids as I could possibly be. And they're, you've met them. Solid group, to be sure. But one of the things that happens with people like Kelly and people like Madam Sherry and the strippers that are down here on 60 and the Gold Club or whatever they call it, Deja Vu. That was a field trip we had early on in your Tampa experience. That was fun.
It was fun.
If you're a dick dad or a mother who is a loving, giving, wonderful, should we redeem the word cunt too while we're at it? So, somebody just said that to me that when I told them about what I want to do with Dick, she goes, I love the word cunt.
Just love the way it feels when it's flowing off of my.
She wants to redeem the term cunt. That's like the worst thing you can say about a woman is that she's a cunt. She's her sex organ. What? That's an awful thing to have happen to the word cunt. But if you're a supportive parent and your child wants to be a sex worker or an escort, wants to be a pole dancer or a pole fitness instructor or a stripper, strippers are completely degraded in our society. It's like the one group of people that you can still make fun of. That and Christians, of course.
They seem to be at odds with each other.
It's a very good point. What if you had a kid that wanted to be an escort, male escort, girl stripper, male stripper, whatever. If you were a father, and when you will be, if you knew that your child was doing that, how would that make you feel? How would you deal with that?
I'm sure I would be very thorough in my understanding and helping them understand themselves for what they truly were passionate about and wanted to do and commit to their lives and the value they wanted to bring to society. But if at the bottom of everything and at the end of the day, they could stand on the fact that they felt like the best thing that they could do and the biggest contribution that they could give to the planet would be through their sex working or stripping, whatever it may be, then I would probably end by saying something to the effect of follow your heart.
Always good advice, beautiful humans. Coming to you from the engineer, producer, and co-host of Sex in the Pews extraordinaire, Theodore Owen Pratt.
Granted, would I actually do that? Who knows? I don't have a daughter, so I don't know how I would feel in that situation.
To me, it's just an extension of a performance. Do you know who Dakota Johnson is?
Isn't that 50 Shades?
Yeah, she was in 50 Shades of Grey. She is Don Johnson's daughter. Don Johnson was, of course, in Miami Vice.
Okay.
And
the redheaded guy?
He was kind of blonde, I think. Don Johnson. He always wore the...
I'm thinking of CSI Miami.
Yeah, this is a long time ago.
Okay.
This predates you. But, it was a good show down by your neck of your old stomping ground.
Mm-hmm.
Dakota Johnson in that movie in those movies, first of all, couldn't look any sexier. Oh, my God, in my opinion. And in all kinds of naked, sexual, one after another, bondage type situations, like we were talking with Dina Lynn the other day about. So Don Johnson was asked, and how he would respond, or how did he see the movies, and he did, and how he felt about seeing his daughter like that. And he said, well, she's a really good actor. And yes, did it make me feel uncomfortable? Yes. But obviously he dealt with it. And do you think that he doesn't support his daughter making hundreds of millions of dollars? I don't see any difference as far as philosophically.
Right.
Now, obviously she is in a very pristine, protected environment. A lot of strippers are in awful environments.
Mm-hmm. That was one takeaway I got from that strip club excursion. Was I made a lovely friend. Her name was Wendy. Which was actually, she told me her real name, not just her stripper name. Mm-hmm. That's how I knew we were friends. We were close. But she was saying, I was asking her kind of, wanted to know inside the mind of a stripper. I was curious, of course, trying to get to know these girls on a personal level. But she was telling, she felt it kind of icky that a lot of those girls, most of them just didn't want to be there, which seems like a natural thing that most of them are kind of brought into it by circumstance and seeming to have no other at least option at the time, and that it may be the best situation for them to provide for themselves. And so
this video I saw yesterday on YouTube was a YouTube prank by a very attractive woman and a fairly hunky husband that was in bed. And she basically comes in and says that she's decided she really wants to make a lot more money. She's becoming a stripper. And now she's pranking her husband. And so they back and forth in an argument. And then finally says, fine, you become a stripper and you make the money and I'll just spend it. And she freaks the fuck out, the wife. She said, you're going to let me become a stripper? And the entire time he knew he was being filmed because there was a big camera that hadn't been there. He knew that the prank was on. He goes, I was fucking with you. I knew this was on the whole time. And so they're laughing and she's hitting them. And of course that went viral. But yeah, I know men whose girlfriends are strippers or are escorts. They're cool with it. They make good money.
It's got to take a lot of intestinal fortitude and confidence.
So does having an open attitude about relationships. A lot of guys and women cannot deal with the fact that their significant other is doing other people, unless they're swingers. Then they're participating and they can, they're open.
Do you think it's within everyone's capacity to be able to have that kind of relationship?
Oh, and the answer to your yes or no question is no. No, follow your heart is a great suggestion. I followed my heart into crazy ass fundamental religion, and I followed my heart right out of it. And I continued to pick up on a real academic and probing, if you will, interest in human sexuality. I had this from the time I was a kid, not just like a normal horny dude in college. I was part of a groundbreaking research study on the effects of pornography on men. I was a research assistant for it. And what the interesting finding was by Dr. Ed Donnerstein at the University of Wisconsin-Madison was that when men view, it was testing men's changing attitudes towards women based on viewing pornography. Because the concept had been up to that point that any objectification of women lowers men's attitude and respect towards women. So, and this is still to this day, this is why people argue against pornography. But here's what we found out, is that when men see openly pleasurable, pornographic, if you will, images of couples or multiple people having consensual sex, their attitudes towards violence towards women actually is lowered. Now, when they see aggressive or rapey type sex or even sexually innuendoed images, then it does increase men's attitudes and openness, if you will, to violence towards women.
It's interesting. I wonder if that has anything to do with, so there's like our brains are wired so that when we look at someone who's experiencing pain, the same centers in our brain light up that would go off when we were experiencing pain. Same thing for laughter and sexual arousal, etc. So I wonder if that's got anything to do with it. If they're like almost being or made comfortable or those violent scenes, if that normalizes or makes it more okay with them, and that's why.
Well, one thing we definitely know is that what we take into our eyes affects the way we think. This is why, and same thing with our ears. This is why you listen to the podcast you do and the music you do, and why I turn on some wonderful jazz music first thing in the morning. It just gets me into a good flow. This is why you suggested the other day or asked if we could turn off the news that was on. And I said, why? And you said, because I'm in a really good place and I want to stay here. And I went, click. You see, because you were aware of that. I mean, you know how many people are addicted to the news? So I think, no, people are not equipped for this type of life. There are people that are absolutely biologically, genetically predisposed to exclusivity, to monogamy, to one and done. Having said that, I still don't think that is the most effective way to approach a monogamous relationship. I think it's counterproductive. But there are men out there that are super supportive of their women in the sex industry or portraying themselves in sex. The aforementioned Dina Lynn a regular power member of the power rotation here at Sex in the Pews. Her husband on Facebook after the last show, actually after the video that you released promoting Dina's appearance, her husband Robin said on Facebook that he wanted to hear the whole thing. That was just such a, it was a tease. So I said, Robin, that's what you call a radio tease or a promotion. That's directs you to the whole show, which you can hear. And he said he was so proud of Dina that this was exactly, he said, what she was born to do.
Wow.
And here is his wife. And if you listen to she could not be any more open.
Yeah.
And promoting of the fulfillment of sexual experience for humanity. And that's what her husband said.
That's cool.
You know how supportive that is? You know how beautiful that is? And he's right, because I know Dina really well as well. Not as obviously as well as he does. But she blossoms when she's doing this. This is so in her heart that's connected to her soul, seeing people freed up, especially women who have been under shame-based religion, which of course affects sex. So happy for her. She's such an important member of the team. Owen Pratt is too. He is the engineer and producer extraordinaire. This is Glenn Klein. It is Sex in the Pews. Glad to have you along for the ride. Kelly Elizabeth Goss was born and raised in beautiful Florida. She grew up here in the Tampa area, currently calls Key West her home. She is a professional pole dancer, performer, athlete, and bad bitch, according to her biography. She is also a licensed deep tissue massage therapist, medical massage therapist expert, and esthetician. She has become a fantastically powerful competitor and has earned multiple titles. Please welcome in the Pews, the one, the only. You're going to know her. You're going to love her. You're not going to be able to live without her. Kelly Elizabeth Goss. Keg.
What's up?
How are you?
Great. How are you?
I have no complaints, but thank you for caring enough to ask. Where are you this morning?
I am at my house.
In beautiful Key West?
In Key West.
How
yes.
has Key West recovered from Irma? Or I guess it was what hurricane was that? Was it Irma?
Irma.
It was Irma.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it's doing quite well. The island of Key West is, 2-by-4 mile island, and we got hit pretty hard, but the worst part of the storm was about 20 miles north of us, Big Pine Key, and they're still struggling up there. But Key West, where I'm at in the central location, or the very bottom of Florida, is doing well. You wouldn't even know.
That's good to hear. How long did you have to evacuate for? How long were you without power, et cetera?
It was several weeks, actually. I was traveling because I travel for my pole career, and there was actually a pole expo going on in Las Vegas, and I was out of town when the storm hit at Pole Expo in Vegas, and then when we were supposed to fly home, they weren't letting anybody go back in. So I was kind of stuck in Las Vegas for a couple of weeks, and I ended up having to go over to Northern California as well, because I had a friend that let me ride with her from Vegas to NorCal, and I kind of stayed with her for a few weeks until we got the okay that we could go back. It was crazy.
Was your fitness facility damaged at all?
Yeah, we had to replace some floors due to flooding, but majority of all of our stuff is up off the floors, so it wasn't terrible. It was just some water damage.
What do you call your gym and your practice there in Key West?
A studio. It's a fitness studio, dance studio.
No, but I meant what is the business called?
Oh, Kelly's Aerial Arts and Fitness.
and that is the website. You can see Kelly's Aerial Arts and Fitness.com. How many people are you training at any given time?
Well, that varies because I'm doing a lot more traveling now. When I travel, the numbers get much higher. But the studio in Key West here has a full staff, and we do a full range of aerial arts and fitness classes and personal training, and people do like private party rentals and have pole dance parties, and we teach performing arts stuff, so we do event entertainment and things like that too.
Now
That sounds amazing. I want to fly around. I've seen those. What are those? What's the tarp thing or the cloth that you hang from?
Aerial silks.
Aerial silks.
Yeah, like Cirque du Soleil is what most people relate it to.
Yeah.
We're actually doing all that kind of stuff. We have like a graduating level of silk stuff called aerial yoga, where you have like a piece of silk material, but it's made into a loop, so you have something to get inside of. And we start people with that, and then they graduate up to aerial silks, which is where the silk is just hanging from, a 30-foot ceiling, and you learn to climb up it and wrap yourself in it and fall and hold yourself in different ways and stuff.
I want to learn how to do that.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's very popular.
How many guys do aerial or pole fitness?
Actually, not a lot. There's still a huge stigmatism over the subject of pole. It's kind of
So
why
phallic.
the studio ended up branching into aerial, because aerial is less judged. And pole and aerial, in my opinion, are all same aerial arts. Like, they're forms of fitness where you have to be able to support your own body weight and, try to make it look easy. And it's just really funny to me because you guys were mentioning earlier how still judged pole is just because the word pole is in it, but it progresses like all the time, which is what I love about it, that it's constantly evolving into way more of an art than just some girl holding on to a stick and shaking her ass around.
Apparently people seeing that is just such a phallic symbol. It just makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah, totally. And as soon as they hear or see the word pole, they automatically, it's like an auto. Yeah, sexual something. Like, they can't be respected because the word pole is in it. But a lot of people have started calling themselves pole artists instead of pole dancers, or like trying to name it differently, but still, if it has the word pole in it, especially in America, it's highly judged.
I just saw a quote from Kate Upton. It was, I don't need to be modest to be respected. I liked it.
That's good news for me.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Kelly Elizabeth Goss is our special guest, and I need to say this publicly. I know I've said it to you, Kel, a number of times. We go way back. Kelly goes back to like almost the founding of the Sunbar Tanning Saloon.
Yeah, literally.
She was a massage therapist there for a little bit, but I think it would be fair to say that you were kind of on a journey and you were struggling a little bit, as young people will, and then you land on this whole idea of pole fitness and pole dancing, and you have taken it to such a level, and you've done such an amazing job, and you've been focused. You've done it with excellence. You've done it with integrity. You've done it with humor, and I could not be more proud of you.
Oh, thanks. I feel like I'm lucky that I finally found what I'm passionate about. It took me it's like 26 actually when I started. So I'm living proof that anybody can do it, though. You just got to commit.
You were fit when you were a massage therapist, but you've taken it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I didn't really work out, though. I mean, I did physical jobs, so I just, I was never like heavy. Like, I just have a metabolism. I'm blessed with that. But I was also never like really fit either, because I never like went to the gym. I never enjoyed working out. When I went to the gym, it was just because I felt down about myself and would abuse myself for an hour and hated every second of it. And when I found pole and aerial specifically, it was the first thing I found that I thought was fun. And I was like, oh, holy crap, I just laughed and had a good time for an hour. And now I'm sore from head to toe and I'm starting to look better and love myself more. This is great. I'm going to do more of this. So kind of started there, and then I took off with it. At least like 6 months into that journey, I started teaching. So it wasn't very long. I was pretty obsessed, but I was happy I found something that was healthy that I could be obsessed about.
And it's always good to be obsessed with something that you love and that are able to make a living at. That's right. One of the reasons that we do Sex in the Pews, Owen, and yours truly. So because I do know your background, I know that, especially in light of our previous conversation about how friends and family and parents respond when somebody steps out, like Dina has, like frankly Owen and I have, and you did. What was the initial response from your folks and your sisters?
Well, when I was younger, my father was a Southern Baptist reverend, and everything was about God and Jesus and all of that. And so when I first started, I didn't even say anything to them about it. I just started going, and my sisters are pretty open with me about all that stuff. I tell them everything, but me and my father, it took a while before he would really accept by like showing up at stuff. He started coming when I started to do it as a sport. There's a few organizations out there now that are trying to legitimize pole fitness as a sport and giving it like a code of points like gymnastics or ice skating would have. And I actually went with a doubles partner last year to represent Team USA in Switzerland at the World Championships. It's like a pole sport event, and it makes it way more gymnastic-like, the performances, because there's such a set of rules, and it kind of takes a little bit of the creativity out of it, but it makes it really easy to judge and not be subjective. But regardless, the more sport events that I did, because it takes that kind of the sexiness out of it as well, my dad started to support a lot more in that journey. And as I got older, he changed to a non-denominational church as well, which helped a lot with everything in our lives being something we're not supposed to do. But I don't know. I feel like I've always kind of been the rebel in my family. So there was a part of me that I think was attracted to it just because I thought it would be something that would not be automatically approved. That was kind of my MO.
So how have you noticed people's response to what you do in light of their involvement in a form of religion, whether it's Christianity or something?
Well, most of the Christians that I know would rather not speak about it. So everyone's nice and polite about it, and most of the time just keeps their mouth shut, I feel like. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Let's just pretend we don't know this is happening until she says, hey guys, I'm about to go compete in a world championship for the country. You want to watch?
Wow.
Oh, wow. Maybe she is doing something legit. So it's like interesting what you guys are talking about as far as people in the, exotic dance industry or strippers in general. It's just, it is funny how disrespected they are. It sucks.
One of the things that our mutual friend Bruce and I have talked about, and this was actually a real passion of his for a little while, was to have an exotic nightclub, a strip bar, where the women would be treated like respectfully, and they would be mentored, and all the health concerns and the safety concerns and the security concerns would all be taken care of, and it would be like that. And I don't know if that's been tried. Maybe it has. I don't know.
In Amsterdam.
That's how they do it in Amsterdam?
Well, I mean, it's all legal, so yeah.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking stripping's legal too. I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. You just mean how they're treated.
Yeah, and just treated with
level of respect
as the artists that they are. It's
Right.
even been suggested that pole dancing should be entered now into an Olympic sport. It's as athletic as anything you'd ever see.
Oh yeah.
So when you were being when you were being raised Baptist, Southern Baptist, and you said you had this natural rebellious streak, which again I certainly can relate to. How did that affect your attitudes towards sex as you were growing up?
Oh, well, I was shamed from the time that I was 5. I was, this is probably TMI, but I'm going to say it anyways because I don't care anymore. But like when I was really young, like young, like 5 years old, my father caught me humping furniture and made me memorize, I don't even know how many Bible verses on temptation.
Right.
And I had to memorize them to the point where he would come back every day at the time that he caught me and make me recite to him these Bible verses about temptation and shamed me about doing it. And all it taught me as a little kid was to hide it.
Exactly.
It didn't make me stop, but it did give me shame about it. So I feel like even springing into, as a teenager, it was completely against everything to have sex. They made you sign paperwork about it and promise that you never would do it and not explain all the urges you're going to have. Just say that it's horrible, it's a sin, and you should never, ever do it. And it was like, that's how I was raised. So it definitely affected my sex life. I started having sex way too young. I didn't have any knowledge about it at all. I was an idiot. And I thought it felt good. All my friends were doing it. I was talking to older boys. Before I knew it, 15 years old, I was having sex, not knowing what I was doing. Crazy. I feel like it could have been so much different and so much better if there was just some communication and a little bit of the guilt taken away.
How about all the guilt taken away? How about that?
Yeah. The guilt was thrown on heavily since very young. So I feel like even part of my brain is still struggles with like being completely free. Like it took me very, very long to even find out what a real orgasm is. I was like 30 years old by the time I started to actually have a real orgasm. And I was like, oh my God. Like I thought I knew what an orgasm was.
Do tell, Kelly. How did that happen?
Until then.
How did it happen?
I had a girlfriend who bought me a Hitachi for my birthday.
What exactly is a Hitachi?
Oh my God, you don't know what it is? Do you watch like S&M porn?
Not particularly.
Okay, well, I'm sure you've seen it, though.
Sure, yeah.
Almost all of them, they have this wand-like tool that has, like, a round knob on the end of it that's kind of large.
Okay.
It's a vibrator,
okay.
And it's one that you plug into a wall, so it's really powerful. Wow. And you can basically force someone with it to have an orgasm.
Wow.
Not that we would advise that, ladies and gentlemen, but...
I'm going to Google this.
Well, I feel like every woman should fucking own one because this fucking toy changed my life.
We should get Hitachi to be a sponsor of Sex in the Pews, perhaps. Or maybe
Seriously.
Kelly's Aerial Arts and Fitness. So, all right, so your girlfriend introduces you to the hibachi.
Hitachi.
Hitachi.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This looks like
It's like what you eat, right?
Looks like just a muscle massager. It's intense.
Right. They sell it off as a body massager. Body wand, I think, is another cliche name for it. But the Hitachi was the
So who was your friend that did this? This amazing thing for you?
Her name is Jessica. And she was actually an ex-girlfriend. I was the girlfriend of her and her husband.
All right, well, we'll get into that story momentarily, but because that's phenomenal. By the way, we've had women on the program. Kelly or Dina didn't achieve orgasm until she was 42. Jacqueline Moore didn't achieve orgasm until she was 48. There are people listening to us right now, women all over the terra firma, that have never had an orgasm. When I was coming up, the statistic was 30% of women were only orgasmic. 30%.
I love that you refer to it as
well,
an achievement.
the thing is, I loved sex, and I knew how to get an orgasm with my clitoris because I learned that from when I was tiny. Hump the furniture, and you can make that happen. So I thought I knew what an orgasm was because I could do that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's it. That's an orgasm. Okay, I had one. It felt good. But oh, no. Until you can't control your face and go into a seizure, you're not having a real orgasm. It's different, especially when you have both at the same time and then get into all those places. I just feel like I did not know
So
until then.
for the people out there that have maybe had a chair humping orgasm and think that's all there is to it, how would you encourage them to experience the fullness that is available to them?
And how did it happen to you the first time, specifically?
Well, you want penetration at the same time as clitoral stimulation. And usually that gets the job done. A vibrator will probably make it happen quicker.
Right on.
So if you have you ever used a vibrator while having intercourse?
All the time.
Yeah,
yes.
that's a good move.
Sounds like it
Yeah,
comes
but you're
highly
not going to want the Hitachi all the time for that because it's large. You can get like little handheld ones that are great now that are even like waterproof.
Is that an issue that apparently is, there may have been some shortages
from time to time. So Jessica gives you this thing, and then what do you do with it? How does that literally transpire?
Wait, which part?
Where you got the, what is it called?
Hitachi.
And then what do you do with it? Do you take it home? Does she come and show you, or how does that work so that people have a little bit of understanding what they might need to do?
Oh, well, actually, at the point in time that she gave it to me, I was not seeing her. She was just my friend. And I was actually dating a guy that was just my boyfriend at the time. And she gifted it to me on my birthday, and I took it home, and I actually had it for like a week or two, and she brought it up to me like, hey, did you ever use that? And I'm like, oh no. And she reminded me. And so then that night I went home, had sex with my boyfriend at the time. And I held the Hitachi over my clit while I was having sex with him. And oh my God, I had an orgasm, the biggest orgasm I had ever had in my life. Like, what just happened?
Wow.
What was that? What just happened to my body? And let's do it again. Mind blowing, different.
I'm going
it's
on Amazon
sad that the
right
rest
now.
of my life I didn't know what that felt like. It's very sad.
A lot of men would feel threatened by that. Guys.
Oh, yeah. Even my boyfriend at the time was, for sure. Especially with my reaction to it afterwards. Because I was like,
what, that thing bigger than me? Huh?
Oh my God. I've never done that before. Like, that was crazy. Oh my God. And he's like, well, geez, calm down about it. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, oh my God.
Right. And
this
see,
is like,
that response is a little on the pussy side.
oh yeah.
And
he didn't last long.
Yeah, and you don't want a pushover. You want a dick. You don't want a pussy.
Yeah.
You already got one. Although apparently you did want another pussy at some point. How did that happen?
Well, actually, that's an interesting story. I live in a town where it's, very openly a gay community here, and it's all, one human family, stickers all over town. And, there's a lot of gay bars down here, and everybody's very open and accepting. And my first dating a couple experience, I actually ended up in like a live-in relationship with them for a couple years. But she started off just someone that I knew in town, and I would run into her and her husband out at bars and stuff, and would hang out with them and thought they were fun. And they invited me to house parties and stuff, and I had a boyfriend at the time, so I'd bring him too. But like, that's how we got to know each other. And then
when you say house parties, did it turn into some sexual activity as well?
usually,
Right. and then would you be doing the husband and and Jessica would be doing your boyfriend?
No, not at that point in time. That was the same guy, and he wasn't about that story.
Right.
I would just kind of like play around with her in the other room and then come out giggling about it, that kind of innocent things.
And so then you move in with this couple. By the way, beautiful humans, this is becoming so mainstream and so acceptable, thank God, that there's actually a television show about it. Have you ever seen that show, Kelly? It's called Me. What is it called? You, Me, and Her. That's what it's called. You, Me, and Her. And it's about exactly the setup that you had. This, they call it a throuple, not a couple. A throuple. They're out. Everybody knows about it. And they went through their ups and the downs. And the wife of the guy, they bring in this a young woman, kind of like your situation. The wife ends up being more lesbian than straight, but she still loves her husband. Anyway, it's a cute show. It's a sitcom. And that's how mainstream. Once you're seeing movies about things, or once you see television shows be about things that are positive. I mean, I remember the day that Ellen DeGeneres came out as a lesbian on television. It was hugely controversial.
Oh, yeah.
And now we have entire networks for the LGBTQ community. It's beautiful. And so you're in Key West. It's very open. You move in with this couple for 2 years. And how did that work? And how was that? You were a throuple.
It was fun. We had a lot of fun. I feel like there's a lot of things that you fantasize about that you don't actually follow through with in your real life because of, disease and, that kind of worry. But when you're in a situation like that, like there's no holds barred because you're all committed to each other. I think it worked from the start, more with me and her because same situation. She was more into me than she was into him, and he was more into me than he was into her. I think just because they had been married for a long time, they were kind of over each other, but still loved each other. And so I was the center of attention all the time, and I loved it.
And did all three of you guys sleep in the same bed?
Yeah.
It's just like this TV show. They're all three in there.
Wow.
And and would you guys have independent sexual experiences as a twosome without the third one there?
In the beginning, we did. Yeah. Yeah, it didn't really matter. Whatever we wanted. And everybody was happy.
And would you bring other people into the throuple?
No. No. When we first started dating, they were hanging out with a bunch of like, quote, swinger people that I met and stuff. But then once we started hooking up, he got real, I don't want to share Kelly. Let's keep her to ourselves. And we didn't really explore those areas as much as they did before they met me, I think.
Isn't that interesting that even a throuple that is so open is also kind of controlling about it? And what
pole makes him nervous.
Yeah, the pole makes him nervous. God, what ended up happening? How did that all conclude?
I ended up feeling like I didn't want to do it forever. And, after the newness wore off, there was, stuff that just got like, oh, now I feel like I'm in a marriage.
Yes, you were.
And it was like, it didn't have the spark that it did in the beginning.
Just like real marriage.
Yeah, like real relationship life. And to the point where I was like, well, wait a second, I want to be the only one. And then I started to have a little bit of animosity towards her for no reason. And then I would have guilt about that animosity because I felt like she really loved me and took good care of me. And so it was like a constant inner battle for me to be there anymore once the newness wore off. And so I ended up being the one that was like, okay, I don't really want to do this anymore.
How long ago was that?
Like 3 years ago.
And how many relationships have you had since then?
1.5.
What's the half part?
Well, one of them was like an emotional relationship that was very involved, but not sexual. Mm-hmm. And then the other one was someone that I am still currently having sex with.
One thing I know about Kelly Elizabeth Goss, as you beautiful humans can tell, she is a strong woman. Yeah. She is intellectually strong. She's emotionally strong. She's physically strong. She's sexually strong. What kind of guy gets with you or you get with that could possibly deal with it? How do men deal with your strength?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's why I get the big bucks, Kel.
I actually struggle a lot with that in particular, just because of what I do. It's very out there, and I don't hide it because I'm proud of it, and I feel like every woman should have the opportunity to feel sexy and be proud. And like half of my job, one of the reasons I love what I do now as far as teaching goes, is teaching women that they don't have to be ashamed and to embrace the bodies that they have and how to be proud of it and show it off. And as long as you believe that you are fucking sexy, everybody else will believe it too. But it changed my life because of how much it gave me confidence and made me discover things about my body still on a daily basis. And, things to be proud of and aspire to and have goals and all that good stuff. And in the meantime, I get to just play because I love what I do. So,
but how intimidated are the guys that you date or that you're seeing on the regular?
Most guys that I date are intimidated by it. I've been in a relationship off and on with this person that I'm seeing now, and he doesn't seem to mind much at all. He's very lackadaisical about life in general, and I feel like I kind of keep him separate from that life too. I feel like a lot of people in this business do that just because it's better for business than getting hired for gigs and, just in general promoting myself as a performer and artist. And I just feel like it doesn't always help to have a partner right there in everybody's face. So I tend to be more successful and get more gigs and make more money when I don't promote the fact that I'm in a relationship. So I tend to not, and I'm seeing a person now that's cool with that and has to be very laid back. I've over the years been through many relationships in this particular career with pole, and a lot of them couldn't even handle like me performing for a live audience, with no one near me. Just getting on stage and performing would bother them. So it definitely takes a secure man, but it helps you weed out the ones you don't want. So
one thing Madam Sherry always used to say is that as soon as jealousy rears its ugly head in a relationship, it's over. If jealousy isn't dealt with, it's like a cancer. And it's just a matter of time. And ladies, what I recommend to you, as soon as a guy shows jealousy, run. Because it ain't going to get better. And that is not a dick. That is a pussy or an asshole. And I believe that nobody should own somebody else's genitalia. That's their body. They should do what they want with it. And women, guys, will respect that. They will respect if you handle it in a loving, gracious, dick way. They will respect you owning your own penis.
So for someone, maybe a guy or a girl who's hearing this and is really intrigued and hears something in the fact that of complete openness and acceptance and giving freedom to their partner and really wants to be able to do that, but still has some reservation and feels that ickiness and that jealousy, how might you encourage someone to be able to grow in that area or to develop it and work towards that?
Great question, Owen.
Almost always that is related to something inside themselves that there's a problem with, and that's what gives them the fear and insecurity of losing their partner. That's usually where the base of it comes from. So if you can communicate well enough with your partner to a point where you can say, listen, we need to be straight up with each other here. Obviously with respect of boundaries, because you don't want to contract or spread disease. So you have to be, very careful about what you're doing and mindful of that just to respect each other's bodies. But typically jealousy is a fear thing. So if you can get down to what they're afraid of, almost always they're either afraid of losing you or of you not being attracted to them anymore. And if, there's other reasons as well, but typically those are the major ones. And it's usually really helpful to reassure them that when you do want to explore or do things outside of just the two of you, that it's only because you want to explore with your body and experience new things, and that it has nothing to do with you not wanting or being attracted to them. And constant reassurance and communication when there is other stuff happening. But if somebody's not uncomfortable with it and they just agree and say, okay, I hear you say the words that you love me and you're not going to leave me, and I give you permission to go and be with other people, but they don't really have the ability deep inside of them to let go of that fear, then it's just going to make bigger problems. Like, don't say you are cool with it when you're not.
That's really good advice.
And get inside, deep inside. Jealousy stems
deep,
from
ladies
fear.
and gentlemen.
The influence and impact on our culture by religion, by shame-based, judgmental, condemning religion has been from day one in this country when it was founded by the Puritans. And it still influences everything in our society, to the fact that the man that Kelly was part of a throuple with said, I'm not sharing Kelly. I mean, that's just control. And when you love somebody, you want them to be happy moment by moment. And a lot of people say, well, if you have openness, then it's possible that your significant other, whether it be your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend, however you articulate the relationship, could fall in love with somebody else. But have you noticed, folks, that under the traditional religious paradigm of monogamy, it happens all the time anyway? Because once you are restricted in anything, something that you really love and you really enjoy, you can become hateful of. That's how people who are madly, passionately in love with each other end up hating each other's guts. There's more to it than that. But Big O, if you had to say,
If I had to say,
and we've been hanging out a lot together since forming this business partnership, so I know you a little bit, pretty well actually. I think I could answer this question, but I want to ask you the question.
okay.
If I said, this is the meal that you want tonight, of all the food that you could possibly desire, what would you have for dinner tonight? Your ultimate meal.
I really fucking love sushi and steak.
Okay, so you might have some
Like a Kobe steak.
delicious sushi and a beautiful ribeye or New York strip.
Kobe
steak. Okay. Doesn't that sound good, Kelly?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to tell you, Mr. Pratt, that for right now, throughout the rest of your life, all you can ever eat every day, every meal is Kobe and sushi. Something that is making my mouth water right now just talking about it in a Pavlovian response. You would hate. You would grow from loving it to disdaining it because you'd have to eat the same damn thing every day. Now, obviously, a lover and a sexual partner is different than Kobe and sushi. However, they're both physical needs. They're both desired. They're both desirous. They're both attractive to you. This is how it is, you guys. When you infuse openness in a relationship, it causes good people to act like they're good people. Religious doctrine and the kind of judgment and shame that Kelly was put under actually is counterproductive. It actually makes you want to do it more.
Yeah.
I always say, if you want to have less of an opportunity for your partner to be with somebody else, give them the freedom to do it. Because one thing we know, what we're doing now in the traditional monogamous, committed, exclusive marriage, wedding situation is not working. People who loved each other now hate each other. Hate. So you mentioned, Cal, that even now you experience guilt from time to time.
Oh, yeah. I have to remind myself constantly not to operate on guilt.
Well, here,
just because I was raised to be that way.
That's as I was saying, as to an extent, we all were in our society, even if we weren't raised Southern Baptist or Pentecostal. Right. because even atheists, we had an atheist on the other day, and we got into it over this. Even atheists will set up a monogamous situation, and if their partner goes outside that, that will be defined as what?
Cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Where did they get that concept from? Because you made why would you make an agreement that your significant other, who you love and love hanging out with and traveling with and having sex with and laughing with and watching movies with and going to concerts with, why, if they had a moment with somebody else, why would you call that cheating? Because Christianity calls it adultery, and that's bad. Now, adultery, and there's 613 commandments that were given to Israel, not just 10 commandments. 613. If you broke them all, if you broke one, you were considered to break them all. It was punishable by death back in the day. But the good news is we're not under that covenant anymore spiritually. Being the good Southern Baptist girl that you were, you understand that we're under a new covenant, right, Cal?
Oh, yeah.
The way to, if the story is true, we think it is true, not the way Christianity's got it 180 degrees wrong. There is no need for faith. There is no need. You can't have faith. You can't.
You couldn't keep all 613 laws.
Exactly.
You can't have faith strong enough to be able to
be perfect.
You righteous.
God just decided to make you perfect, beautiful human. Sorry to report, you're righteous already. You're righteous if you use a Hitachi or don't.
Or if you're in a throuple.
If you're in a throuple, or if you decide you want to be monogamous, or you don't even like the show, or you love this show. God's not impressed. He demanded perfection. That was the whole point of the whole story.
The Pope, your preacher, nobody is more righteous than the stripper, the sex worker, everyone's perfect in God's economy.
Even the sex and the pew hosts.
Even the sex and the pew hosts, again.
So Kelly,
the worst of them all.
We have an affirmation that we do every day before we start broadcasting. And what we have found is that God is not in heaven. That was the whole point. He lives inside every single human being. We just don't know it enough. That's why that's why it's called the temple of the Spirit. And
you can get him to come out with a Hitachi.
Amen, sister. So that's exactly right. But what we have found out, while God is finished, God's not doing miracles anymore. God's not showing up in people's lives. God's with us 24/7. He knows everything, and he's not ticked off at all. In fact, he loves us just the way we are. He's there when you're jerking off. He's there when you're swearing. He's there when you're losing your temper. He's there when
you're cheating on your wife.
You're cheating on your wife or your taxes. Government and religion makes good people cheaters. He doesn't care anymore about that shit. That was the whole point. So the only miracles that's left is what Paul called the salvation of the soul, the renewing of the mind, the cleansing of our emotions. God lives in our hearts somewhere inside of our bellies, if you will, conceptually. But where we need the influence of that is between our ears, where we live. And the way that I love this metaphor, when the power went out in Key West for all those weeks, Cal, the power company still had power. They just couldn't get it to your house and your fitness center. Mm-hmm. They always have power. We always have the power to think effectively and lovingly and smartly and wisely and with freedom and love and compassion. We always have that. But we need it where we live, between our ears. And one of the ways that it's connected, the power, the perfection, the love, is when we talk about this. I mean, I feel it right now, emotionally. Our soul, if you will, is our brain, our will, our intellect, our emotion, our memories. That's what we need influenced by the cleansing thing. And this doesn't make any sense, what I'm saying. It's not scientific. There's no way I can prove it, but I can tell you that if you listen to the affirmations we do right now, this is how you deal with ineffective thinking. How often? As often as you've got ineffective thinking, like guilt about sex. And here's what we say every morning. We say we are perfect and righteous and sinless and holy and blameless, and so is everybody on the planet. Number 2.
Owen, Kelly, Glenn, and everybody listening to this podcast right now, and everyone else on the planet
And God.
are perfectly one and unified.
Not with God. We are God. We are God in the flesh. God's inside of us just like he was in Christ. And the third one is one I love, is that nothing can separate me from the perfect love of God, because I am the perfect love of God, and nothing can separate me from myself. Now, if you were listening to that, folks, you feel emotionally better. I don't care if you were raised in religion, if you were raised a Christian, if you were raised a Muslim, if you were a Hindu, Jewish, Confucius, Rastafarian, atheist,
Satanist.
That's how you deal with the guilt, Cal. That makes no sense, but it cleanses, it brings logical and rational thinking.
Right.
Yesterday, at the end of the broadcast, Owen and I had maybe our ickiest moment that we've had since parting.
It's kind of icky.
Yeah. But within, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we were cool. Because of the influence of this message. I mean, I remember, you remember my wife, Dawn, right, Kelly?
Of course, yeah.
Dawn and I would have fights for months on end. It would just start. I was such a jerk. I was such an asshole. And now we never fight. Because I've learned. And the influence of this one, Dawn and I are one, even though we're not married anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone are one. The effect of this message, this is why there's been the most progress in the history of humanity the last 2,000 years. Paul said there's no Jew or Gentile. There's no more division. At that time, spiritually speaking, there was only two types of groups of people in the way that God looked at. There were Jews, there were non-Jews, Jews and Gentiles. Well, Paul said, that's all gone now. He said there's no male nor female.
No believer, no non-believer.
Dude, think about that. First one in history to say men and women are equal. Now, they pulled passages out of the scripture or out of the New Testament writings about women shutting up in church. And that was such a misunderstanding. This has been a 30-year study for me. This has been my life, my passion. It's hard to explain in 10 minutes. But when thoughts like women are equal, people shouldn't be kept enslaved because they have more melanin in their skin, LGBTQ people are equal, should have the same exact rights, transgender people, that we shouldn't be committing mass atrocities, that a guy like Mahatma Gandhi can lead a revolution against the British Empire and no shot is fired? When would that have ever happened before? But that's when the power that resides in all our human hearts is connected to we live in our brains and we progress. Perfectly? No, it wasn't a perfect night last night with you and me. But it ended up perfectly because we recognize that we're one. And we recognize what's really important. No guilt, no condemnation, no judgment. That's a good way to spend a day.
And self-love.
Yes, that's where it comes from. That's how you love yourself. God damn it. If God loves you, can't you love yourself? If perfection loves you and has deemed you perfect, you can appreciate yourself even with your manifest imperfections, can't you?
And the more self-love you have, the more confidence you'll have, and then it gets rid of all the fear that holds you back and makes you have guilt.
And exactly. And also it helps people release their loved ones so that they walk in freedom and joy.
Correct.
In the Holy Ghost. Oh God, this is good stuff. Did you enjoy?
Me?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Funny. Covered a lot of ground there.
As we do on each and every episode of Sex in the Pews. So you'll do it again, right?
For sure.
All right. Well, she's Kelly Elizabeth Goss. She is one of the great human beings on the planet. Her website is Kelly's Aerial Arts and Fitness.com. And when's your next competition?
I'm doing a comp in Canada this year called Pole Theater.
What's it called?
Try Pole Theater.
Pole Theater.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, they have them internationally, but I'm going to do the Canadian edition to try to get to Worlds.
Right on. And where in Canada?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
It's a big country. You know? You might want to check that out before you make a flight schedule.
It's like several months out. I haven't done all the research yet. I registered, but I honestly don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Well, hopefully the weather will have warmed up significantly by then, because it is colder than a witch's elbow right now.
I really hope so too.
But what's the temperature going to be in in Key West today?
I think it's in the 70s today.
It's a tough life.
It's a little chilly. It's nice.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You're nice. You're the best. And we will talk to you in the near future. Thanks for the time and for the openness and for just being you.
Of course. Thanks for having me. I had fun.
Here she goes. Kelly Elizabeth Goss.
What a woman.
Keg.
I'm a fan.
There's nothing not to be a fan about. See if she's still there. Kelly, you still there?
I'm still here.
I wanted to ask you, and I forgot, and I'm glad I remembered, and it was sparked when Owen said, "What a woman." The strength and the intimidation factor, how does that play out in the bedroom? How much do you find yourself taking charge and having the guy be the submissive role?
Actually, I prefer to be submissive because in my daily life, I'm always the one in control. So it's like that, CEO thing mentality. Like you are in charge and you go around getting shit done and being a business all day long. And when you get home in the bedroom, you don't want to be that person anymore. You just want to be taken.
And are your guys cooperative with that?
Yeah.
That sounds good. Generally speaking, we speak in general terms, and we're not talking about role playing and things like this, but generally speaking, women want to be submissive in bed. They want a dominant guy. Dina talked about that a lot, and that's because it's the way we're built, you guys. If we're working properly, the woman is built to receive. The man is built to penetrate, and that should be
every once in a while, though, I get a wild hair up my ass. Take over, slap him around,
Yes, we know. We can imagine. And thanks for sharing. And I'm really glad I brought you back and that you were still there. Love you.
Love you.
Talk to you. There she goes. God damn, is she great? She always was. She's a hoot to hang out with. I went to massage therapy school, and she's a massage therapist. So we did some exchanges, and she was the aforementioned Bruce's massage therapist for a long. She's a great massage therapist. Great. She's great at whatever she does.
I'm ready for a field trip.
Have you ever been to Key West?
No, I made it to Key Largo.
I've never been to Key West either. We might have to do a whole week of Sex in the Pews down there.
We should broadcast live from her studio. Aerial silk performers flying around us.
But once we go video, we will. Kelly's Aerial Arts and Fitness.com. Big O, what is the shit that we learned today?
I got some shit we learned today. I learned that Kelly has been in a relationship with a couple longer than I've been in a relationship with another human.
She was in a throuple for 2 years.
Longer than I was a couple.
What shit did I learn today?
You learned that God who lives inside of us can come out with a Hitachi. Bring him out with a Hitachi, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, indeed. There's a reason that people yell, "Oh my God." It's a very accurate description in the middle of sexual arousal and satisfaction. He's the one that thought of it. I mean, this was all his idea, in our humble opinion, ladies and gentlemen. It's hard to imagine that God was involved in the creation of the clitoris. Clitoris is not necessary for procreation. How does that evolve? Just
Should have on some biologist. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Get on some anatomical expert and talk about the evolutionary development of the clitoris.
One of the things that Kelly said that when she brought the Hitachi into intercourse and was vibrating on it during sex, during coitus, it can't be said enough, just because based on what she said, she was not getting stimulation during intercourse.
Right.
Because her clitoris apparently is higher than at the entrance of the vaginal opening. Only 25% of women have the clit right there who will get stimulation during intercourse. Then it goes up 25%, 25% higher, and some are way up there. So it it should be taken care of by a vibrator or a lover's hand or the person's own fingers.
Or the third person in your couple.
It's a very good, useful utility of the third couple or the third member of the throuple. You think you could handle 2 women?
Yeah.
That was very definite and immediate response.
Especially with the help of a Hitachi.
Very good point, Big O. Where should people find the Sex in the Pews podcast?
You can find us at sexinthepews.com, on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, iTunes, Apple Podcast app. We would love a review, a 5-star rating. It would mean the world to us. It would help the Holy Spirit and God come out of us. And we're also on Instagram. So check us out on all platforms. Spotify, we're on Sex in the Pews everywhere.
And just go to sexinthepews.com to communicate with us. Let us know what you think of the show. Let us know if you have topics that you would like us to deal with, criticize. We've had plenty of that. And of course, we are not surprised by any of that. Also, you can purchase your Got Splinters t-shirt there. It's a secure site, as well as participate in the Dick Pick of the Week. The winner was Celeste Reynolds with her dick pic of a guitar pick with the word dick on it.
It's beautiful.
It's not what you think, but it is funny. Thank you very much, sir. Good times. And we will be back with another edition in another 48 hours. So don't go anywhere. Stay logged on. Tell all your friends about it. Share. Get involved in the Sex in the Pews community. And until next time, this is Glenn Klein
And Owen Pratt
saying, Shalom, everybody.
bitches.